Hello and welcome to Best Practices for Atlassian Jira Cloud Backup and Recovery. Today's webinar is sponsored by Rubrik and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. So not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. I'd especially like to call your attention to two of those from Rubrik. There's a PDF on Rubrik data protection for Atlassian Jira Cloud, and there's also a link to get started with Rubrik in Atlassian. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Oh, and one other prize to tell you about. There's a $50 Amazon gift card for the best question of the day. So after the event is over, we'll look through all the questions that came in and the Actual Tech Media team will pick out the best one. And so that's one more holiday gift card that's available. So if you need that just extra piece of incentive to ask that question that's on your mind, that's another good reason to ask it. All right. Well, with that housekeeping out of the way, let's get to today's fantastic content. Excuse me. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our three excellent presenters from Rubrik today. We have Stacy Poon, who's staff product manager. We have Artem Foman, who's an Atlassian architect. And then we have Jeff Anoy, who's senior marketing manager for technical marketing. And he's going to come on a bit later for a demo. So Stacy, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Scott. So we're really lucky to have our Jira admin from Rubrik, Artem, with us. He's our team member as well and as a Atlassian certified expert. So he's going to walk through with us today as we kind of go about the session. And in this session, what we'll be going over is why do you need to protect Jira data? How does Rubrik address some of these common challenges when it comes to managing Jira Cloud data? And on top of that, we're going to go look at how Rubrik solves for this and how does the product work when it comes to Jira data protection. So before we get into it, what we want to go over is some facts. So there's an important date coming up for all Atlassian customers. February 15th, 2024, that is when Jira Server Edition is end of lifing. And lots of customers are being encouraged and even deciding themselves to move to Jira Cloud. So they can go to Jira Cloud, but they also as very well can go to Data Center. But the point here is that Server Edition is end of lifing, and they have a decision to make to either go to Data Center or Cloud. But what does that mean, though, when it comes to data that customers should be aware about? So on the data server side, in the past year alone, there actually has been some vulnerabilities that's been reported. In fact, 10 plus vulnerabilities have been reported in the past 12 months alone. And what types of vulnerabilities? Typically security. So that means when a bad actor somehow gets credentials and becomes an unauthorized user and gets into a customer's Jira environment. So that's kind of what is happening on the data center side, but the same can still be said for the cloud as well. And on top of that, there's other things that can be happening potentially when it comes to customers' data. So on the cloud side, there was actually an event that happened in 2022 where there was a subset of customers that actually experienced a Jira Cloud outage where they could not even access their Jira data and work and collaborate with their colleagues using Jira. So these are just some examples of customers potentially losing their data or putting their data at risk. And again, these things are things that customers need to be thinking about because these things can happen, unfortunately. And on top of that, again, these are only two examples, but you can also have, user errors or accidental deletions or intentional deletions, data corruption. There's just so many events that can be happening. So that really makes us as either as Rubrik or as customers, you just really need to think about, is your data safe? How well protected is it? Great. So what's the difference between Jira Software Server and Data Center versus the cloud? Artem, can you make us have a good understanding of what customers need to really be aware about when it comes to managing their data?
Yes, Stacy. So there are multiple differences between Jira Server and Jira Data Center and Jira Cloud, but I guess for the purpose of our discussion, let's focus on the primary difference. Jira Server and Jira Data Center are self-hosted by the customer, whereas Jira Cloud is a SaaS product offered by Atlassian and hosted by Atlassian. Naturally, this impacts how data can be accessed and handled by customers. As an example, for a self-hosted Jira instance, customers can define and implement their own automated backup procedures according to their needs and policies. They could use VM snapshots, database backups, etc., to protect the data as they see fit. As far as Jira Cloud, it's hosted by Atlassian on Atlassian infrastructure, and technically customers do not own that infrastructure and they do not own backups of that infrastructure. But that also limits the amount of control that customers have. Mm-hmm. It's only limited to what Atlassian can offer, and the only thing that Atlassian technically offers as far as backups go is site backups on a limited cadence, and they can be done via UI or via REST API, but there are no snapshots, there are no database dumps, nothing that a regular DevOps team or a sysadmin would have access to. And it's important to understand this difference when it comes to disaster recovery.
Mm-hmm. And who, again, is responsible when they're using Jira Cloud? Who's responsible for their data?
So Atlassian is responsible for infrastructure, but it is up to the customer to back up actual data that carries business value for the customer.
Okay, good. So customer is responsible to manage and to back up their data.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, great. So thanks for explaining the differences between Jira Software Server and Jira Cloud. But Artem, can you maybe bring it a little bit more to life and share some examples of customers managing their data with whatever they have with Jira Cloud today?
Yes, of course. So in my years of experience running an Atlassian solution partner company, I've seen a whole bunch of clients that would encounter some sort of data management challenge and accidental data losses and some disaster recovery scenarios. And those customers that are considering migrating to Atlassian Cloud, they need to understand the potential risks associated with that. So one example that really opened the eyes for me was a customer that had a very solid disaster recovery plan and on Jira Server. They moved to cloud, and since SaaS is supposed to be essentially hands-off from the standpoint of system administration and backups, etc. They didn't even realize they had to back up their data, and they thought it was just a part of their SaaS subscription. And then they had an accidental data loss. Was partially due to bad governance, where too many actors had permission to delete issues. They were really surprised that they had no recourse, because they didn't even realize they had to run at the very least manual backups in Jira Cloud Backup Manager. So there was literally nothing to restore from. Atlassian does back up their infrastructure, but it's not tailored to do data restoration for customer data loss. Also, I've been seeing multiple enterprise customers with very large Jira sites struggle to complete their site backups successfully on a regular cadence due to sheer size of their Jira footprints. Like customers with many thousand users, millions of issues, thousands of custom fields, many terabytes of attachments. Those sites just take way too long to complete those backups, and we've seen some failures where backup would fail after 12, 18, 24 hours, and customer would have to go to Atlassian support to help them troubleshoot and get the backup completed successfully. And then that's backup, but then you need to figure out how to use that backup to restore data. And even if you have a site backup, in order to restore data, you cannot just extract the slice of data directly from the backup. You need to restore the backup somewhere. And that means that either you need to restore full backup to replace your production site in place, and that means a highly likely loss of any delta that was generated between the time of backup and the current point of time. Or you need to restore into some staging temporary site, and then find a way to migrate the necessary slice of data from that temporary site back into production. So lots of logistical challenges that are at least somewhat different from what customers are used to by working on Jira Server.
Yeah, thanks, Artem. That sounds very challenging. Great. We understand customers are responsible for managing the data, but do they still really need to be protecting their Jira data? And to answer that question, it's really good to understand how you yourself, or how an organization uses Jira, who uses it, how heavy is it used. So from the past year or so, I've been talking to many customers, and when they kind of explain and share with me how they use Jira, you can definitely start understanding how critical Jira is. And in many cases, if they did experience data loss with Jira, they do see that is definitely a risk to their business. So you have development teams using Jira, obviously, to go build, plan, figure out how to design their product and plan for it. But what's interesting is that it's not just the development team. Many customers also have a bunch of business teams or operational teams that use Jira as well. A lot of the project teams, program teams also use Jira as well to help track the progress of a project, and go and figure out who's doing what. And in addition, there is also customers that use Jira as maybe like an audit tool to really track changes and understand who's done what. Is the right approval flows or process flows in place? So it's really neat to see how much Jira is used amongst customers' organizations. So again, understanding who uses it and how heavily it's used, you can start seeing the criticality of Jira itself. So Artem, maybe can you help us, or you can share how does Rubrik use Jira Cloud, and what does Jira Cloud mean to Rubrik?
Yeah, certainly. Well, Jira is a business critical tool for Rubrik, just as it is a business critical tool for many other Atlassian customers. Rubrik has 1,000+ engineers and a total user base of about 2,500 users. And most of them are in Jira on a daily basis doing their day-to-day jobs to help deliver solid products and to work as one large organization cross-functionally. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Are there any other teams?
in addition to just engineering and development and QA, there are multiple other business functions that use Jira, like legal and privacy teams use it to ensure that development and operation teams are operating according to policies and are in compliance. IT teams, in addition to like regular Jira Service Management and ITSM, IT teams use it to develop their own tools and track their own roadmaps. Marketing team uses it for company website. Support uses it to track the customer found defects and map them and track them together with engineering as one cross-functional organization. So for Rubrik, Jira is at the core of all the operations across the whole company. So it's not just software development support, it's for everything.
Sounds like we use it a lot and sounds critical. So now we went over earlier that customers are responsible in managing their Jira data. We also kind of pose that question, well, do customers really need to protect Jira data? Is it critical? And now, once customers do find it is critical, they need to protect it. Well, what is out there today that can help a customer manage their backups and the restores? So good news is that Atlassian does have native data protection capabilities. And for Jira, it's called the Jira Backup Manager. But one thing that customers should be aware about when they use this or even evaluate, is this really the solution that they need for the backup and recovery use case, is to really understand those limitations. So today, the Backup Manager, what customers are able to do is they can definitely create a full backup copy, but keep in mind that it's not automated, it's on demand. So customers first need to remember and remind themselves to go generate that backup. And when they do that, they are actually only allowed to have one backup copy at a time. So if they do need to continuously have another copy later on, or another day, there is no version history. So every time you generate that new backup, it's going to overwrite the prior one. Another thing to keep in mind is that these backup files, it's not there forever. Eventually, that link to that backup file you generated eventually will go away. It will be deleted after 14 days. And lastly, the frequency of these backups. Now, there are some limitations where if you do have some attachments with your Jira data that you want to go back up, you're only able at most to do it every 48 hours. However, sometimes customers are not able to even experience that every 48 hours, just because of the scale or the size of their Jira environment. Sometimes if a customer's environment is quite large, they may be only getting sometimes every week backups. But let's just say there are customers that they do want that version history. So they can try to figure out a way to have a workaround or a solution in place. They can definitely go download every time they generate that backup. They can go download that file and then go save that file somewhere else, right? Create the script, do a download, but now they have to think about, well, where am I going to put now this backup copy that I want to try to see if I can get version history for? So now they got to go manage their infrastructure for these copies. And that can present not only operational challenges or risk, but security as well, right? You have to think about how do I safeguard this data in this new infrastructure that now I have to manage? And also, how do I maintain this? And then another thing to think about is, can I easily kind of browse through all these versions and go find what I need? So when you do this, you will not have a catalog or an index. So it might even be challenging to start rummaging through all these different versions to go find what you need.
And also, building out that secure infrastructure sort of defeats the purpose of the whole SaaS model, where you're supposed to be hands-off. There are costs, there are resources associated with that infrastructure that you're not expecting to have when you are signing up for a SaaS offering.
Yep. And what we just went over, that's just backup. But now let's turn it to recovery, right? Where that's really where the value comes in with backups is, can you go recover that data? Now, when you think about it, there are really maybe two options when it comes to the native data recovery capabilities with the backup manager. So you have this whole backup file for this whole entire site. So when you just use that, it essentially is just you're able to basically just restore everything. It's either all or nothing, right? So if you think about that, you are actually probably going to be overriding a lot of good data. And in most cases, what I found speaking with customers, that's not really what they're trying to do. They're trying to get more granular. They're trying to go figure out the specific project or a specific set of issues to go restore. So while they do have that first option of just restoring everything, that's great, but they want to go granular. So if they do it with the native tools that they have, is, okay, let's go back to the backup file. They got to go pull that backup file, which is, again, the whole entire instance. And they got to go figure out a place to go put that whole instance of data. So regardless if you want to go restore a full copy or just some issues, you still have to go through that process of, I still need to pull that file of all data and go place it somewhere. Now, customers then would need to go kind of rummage through what they need and then create their own file of specific issues or specific projects that they need to go restore. So they got to kind of prepare or stage kind of another file that then eventually they would upload it to the production site. So, but doing all that, it's not simple, right? There's many steps a customer needs to do, and each step does take lots of time to just to just narrow down what they really are trying to go restore. So Artem, can you just help us better understand kind of everything I just went over, but help us understand how customers can really go about using these native tools when they go through the backup and restore motions?
So there are three primary areas that are all almost equally important, and yet they're kind of painful if you rely on just native Jira backup restore capabilities. So first area is backups, right? Backups are not automated unless you have a dedicated engineer who can write some automation scripts to automate those backups. Also, those backups can take a long time to complete. They're always full backups. They're not like incremental. So the cadence is very limited as well. Large customers might take several days to a week to complete the backup of their attachments on a regular basis, and there is no way to just back up Delta attachments. So for a lot of customers, this type of backup process is not even feasible, so some of them just punt on the whole process. The second bucket of issues is around restore. Like I mentioned before, and Stacy, you referred to it as well. In order to leverage a full site backup, you either need to restore it and replace your production with a backup. And if you do it every few days due to the size, restoring the full backup may override a whole bunch of updates that took place in Jira since the last backup. So it is a potential issue as well. And then even if you have backups figured out, there is a matter of data security. Like you still need to store those backups somewhere because you don't know whether you need to go to the latest backup or to a backup that you've done 2 weeks ago to retrieve the data that was deleted, because some users may not even realize that they've lost some data or they made some bulk changes that they need to revert. So data security and the whole infrastructure support, whether you use like S3 buckets or some other cloud-based technologies or your own data center, there is a cost associated with that. And securing that data falls back on the customer. So that's obviously a challenge when you are talking about signing up for a SaaS product.
Yeah. So that brings us to a solution, right? So that's what we have here at Rubrik. And we're excited to announce that Rubrik, we just launched a brand new product called Jira Data Protection. And essentially what we've designed is a solution that makes it simple and easy for customers to protect their Jira Cloud data. And one of the things obviously we have is automated protection, where it can help also manage your risk. So no more manual backups, no more running scripts, no more figuring out where to store your backup copies in, because you customers are going to be leveraging Rubrik Security Cloud, which is already a proven, a solution that's used by 5,000 plus customers. Where data is secure and data is encrypted. In addition, when it comes to recovery, we're definitely focused on making it very easy, where customers can precisely and confidently restore their data. So there's simple wizards, simple workflows, powerful search tools to help customers not only restore the data, but identify any data deletions and modifications very easily. And then when it comes to restores, customers are able to granularly restore data, restore individual issues, restore a set of issues, and restore settings as well. So we provide a solution that makes it easy, where customers can go ahead and go restore at a granular level. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who will now demo our product.
Thanks, Stacy. Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Inouye with Rubrik Tech Marketing, and in this demo, I'm going to cover our latest SaaS application protection for Jira Cloud. I'll walk you through the key features of the solution, such as the setup, recovery workflow, and how to use our Analyze feature to help you expedite your recoveries. But first, let's get our Jira site connected to Rubrik Security Cloud. Now, onboarding is a simple 3-step process. We'll enter the site name and the credentials, we'll apply an SLA policy, and then we'll choose a storage location. Simply select the Setup button to start the onboarding process. We add the site name and then authorize a Jira Cloud account with the required permissions. Next, we apply a pre-built or custom SLA domain policy. I've selected the Bronze Light SLA, which takes a backup every 24 hours and keeps that data for 1 year. Now that I've assigned an SLA policy, I'll select a storage location. In this example, I've selected a Western region data center in the United States. But Rubrik also provides options for multiple regions across the globe to ensure you can store your data in compliance with either internal policies or for your data sovereignty needs. With a quick confirmation, we are ready to go. With that simple setup, Rubrik will now run through a process to scan and back up the Jira Cloud environment, including the selected site, projects, issues, and attachments. It will also understand the relationships of data on the platform. This could be subtasks associated with a parent task or something larger, such as a collection of stories within an epic. Let's jump over to Jira Cloud to take a look at an example. If we take a look at this issue, we take note of the issue name, Customize Widgets. Additionally, we'll also see 3 subtasks associated to this issue. And on the right-hand side, we're also going to see additional content that isn't the issue data itself. These are things such as the assignee, the reporter, the labels, or the due dates. So let's demo recovery. Let's delete this issue and then recover it in Rubrik. Jumping back to the Rubrik UI, we arrive at the monitoring dashboard. From here, you can get an overview of key information such as the protection status, backup events, as well as a change summary of the data itself. To start a recovery workflow, let's click on the Restore tab. Now there's going to be 2 options here, recovering issues and recovering settings. Issue data is content such as a task, a subtask, or a story. And settings are other options such as custom fields, types, or dashboards. Let's restore the custom widget issue we deleted from the bug bash project. First, we select the project and then we can select the individual issue. For ease of use, Rubrik also provides the ability to search for individual objects in the catalog. Once you identify what you need to recover, you can select the point in time you want to recover from. We're looking for the most recent data, so we'll go ahead and select it for recovery. Since the data in Jira Cloud is relational, Rubrik also services the cascading impact of a recovery. Now in our case, it notices that we have 3 child relationships that link to the subtasks we saw in Jira Cloud. We want to recover all the content, so we'll select to recover the subtasks as well. Once we confirm the actions to be taken, we can kick off the recovery. Now, let's validate our recovery in Jira Cloud. So hopping back into Jira, we can see that our issue was successfully recovered and has the associated subtasks, assignees, and other issue content that we need. But what if you're in a situation where you need to troubleshoot for a recovery? A key to expediting these complicated types of recoveries is first knowing what data is changed and when. Let's take a look at the Analyze feature in Rubrik to help you expedite these types of recovery. Back in the Rubrik UI, let's navigate to the Monitor dashboard. As an example, let's say there was a ticket raised by the Scrum team regarding a subtask that needs to be rolled back. Now they tried to roll back the subtask by hand, but they don't know which fields or relationships have been modified. It looks like we've identified a potential culprit here, but let's dig a bit deeper with the Analyze feature. When we click on the graph, we can see there are a handful of deleted and modified issues. The Scrum Team project is listed here, so let's drill down on that project. Since we're looking for modified data, we can use the filters to track down the subtask. From here, we can kick off the recovery workflow. To do additional troubleshooting, we can also compare the snapshot prior to the changes picked up by the Analyze feature. And as we scroll down, we can see the highlighted changes of this particular subtask. It looks like there are additional links added that cause the confusion. Now that we have confidence in the changes we are rolling back, we can continue with the recovery. Note the parent-task relationship and the cascading impact. As an FYI, only related issues that have been deleted will be restored, and any existing issues will be relinked during the recovery process. a quick browse of the summary, and we can recover this issue. Rubrik is known for its ability to create simplified solutions for complex problems. As a recap of this quick demo, we've covered the setup, backup and recovery, and analyze feature to help you simplify your data protection for Jira Cloud. I greatly appreciate your time, and I hope you found this demo helpful. Back to you, Stacy.
Thanks, Jeff, for sharing and showing us how product manages and protects Jira Cloud data. Artem, what are your thoughts on our product? And does it address the challenges that we talked about earlier?
Yes, certainly. As you could see, with Rubrik, backups are done faster and everything is automated. The initial backup might take longer, but after the initial backup, all the incremental backups just save delta, so you do not have the same issue as with a full backup every time. And also, you are not on the hook for any scripting, and you are off the hook from doing anything manually. With those backups, I can focus my time on other stuff, and whenever there is a need to restore something, I can just log into Rubrik Security Cloud, and with a few simple clicks, I can go as granular as identify the snapshot where, for example, some issues have been deleted, and restore those specific issues, or override some inadvertent changes that might have taken place with some issues due to some accidental bulk change, for example. So it's something that not only helps SaaS customers, that's something that was never even available for Jira Server. So when customers think about whether to stay with data center or migrate to cloud, they can take into consideration that Jira Cloud can now be protected with a really granular backup restore capability. And I think this is huge for any administrator who has ever faced a scenario where they needed to restore some deleted data that was no longer available in Jira. So Rubrik simplifies all that.
Super. Thanks, Artem. So thanks for sharing your perspective, your insight, your opinions. It's always great hearing it come from an Atlassian certified expert. So with that said, I'm going to open it up now to Q&A.
Okay, great discussion and demo. Let's see, Stacy and Artem, are you both ready for some questions?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, excellent. The first one we have here, they're wondering, the question is, I thought that Atlassian backs up the data for its SaaS offering, so wouldn't they help us restore the data?
Yeah, good question. And it's important to understand and get clarity on, again, who does what. So Atlassian does have a program or something in place where when it comes to Atlassian inflicted issues or data loss, like let's just say they accidentally, deleted a product or introduced a bug that accidentally messed up a bunch of customers' data, when it's on them, then yes, they do go restore the service or go restore, customers' tenants or data. But when it comes to customer inflicted data loss scenarios, customers still need to back up their data and restore. And in fact, Atlassian themselves, if you go to their customer trust website, they still themselves recommend customers to be backing up their own data.
Okay, excellent. Next question here is Jira Service Management supported?
So currently today, we support Jira software only. However, we do have plans to expand support for Jira Service Management. So that will be coming in the next few months.
Okay, excellent. Another support question, I guess a support question. Does Rubrik also support Confluence? Or their question was, does Rubrik also protect Confluence? Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. So that will come later too. So first we're looking to expand coverage to Jira Service Management, and then later what will follow would most likely be Confluence.
Okay. And how fast are the backups?
Good question. So obviously it depends. It depends on a customer's data size or environment size. However, what we are seeing currently today with customers is that maybe on average, at least for the initial backup, we're seeing most customers complete that initial backup within 24 hours. And obviously incrementals are much faster than that.
Right.
But it all depends. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Depends. Yep. Okay. Here's one wondering, can Rubrik restore epics and restore tasks, I guess, within that?
Yeah, so basically we can restore any issue type. So essentially just epics is just an issue type. Task is an issue type too. So we are able to restore at the issue level and pretty much any issue type.
Okay, excellent. Mm-hmm. And let's bring Artem in for this one. They're asking, what are some examples of data loss scenarios?
Yeah, we've discussed this to some extent during this webinar already, but most common pain points are when some issues are deleted and there is no paper trail on issue deletion in Jira. In those scenarios, it's super helpful to have a recourse, and yes, good governance dictates that administrators limit the number of users on the system who can delete issues, but not all Jira environments are governed according to best practices. So it is common that some inadvertent issue deletion takes place. In those scenarios, having a tool like Rubrik SaaS protection is a great fallback plan, and hopefully customers will not have to use it, but having this option is great. And also bulk change that impacts some issues inadvertently could also be very, very difficult to trace back and roll back if it took place. So this is where Rubrik solution also comes in handy, because you can just do the analysis inside Rubrik tool and figure out what you need to be rolled back or restored from the backup. And you can determine which snapshot you can restore from. So those are the most common scenarios that we're taking care of.
Okay, very nice. Another question here, how does licensing work?
Yeah, I could take that one. So our licensing model is per user. And essentially what we mean there is the number of active Jira users that have access to the site being protected. I know that's a long-winded definition, but essentially that should line up mostly with the number of Jira user licenses a customer has.
Okay. All right. Per user licensing. Great. And then another question here saying, hi, I'm a Rubrik customer. What's the licensing model to add a Jira Cloud workload? So I don't know, is that a different?
I think that's similar to what what we just addressed. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I think we've gotten through the audience questions here. But Stacy, if somebody wants to get started with Rubrik or find out more here, what do you recommend?
I would say visit our solution page on Rubrik.com. There you can find tons of good information on Rubrik, on our services, on our product. And then, if you're interested, that you can even get connected to one of our reps.
Okay. Excellent. Well, Stacy and Artem, thank you guys both so much for coming on today and for putting on such an informative presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, and we have one more thing to do here, and that is the Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the $250 Amazon gift card right in time for the holidays here is Michael Sevenant from California. So congratulations to Michael Sevenant. We'll be in touch about getting you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Rubrik for making this event possible. And I want to thank Stacy and Artem and Jeff for a great presentation. Thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That's going to conclude this event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.